The guys over at CBK Report, College Basketball Report, stirred the internet into a frenzy this week with their picks for the 21st century college basketball Mount Rushmore. We had 8 different submissions for this, a lot of different names and faces picked as various members of various Mount Rushmores from the guys. Go follow CBK Report if you want to see their picks here. But yeah, a lot of responses to this because Zach Edey only appeared on 2 of the 8 submissions, which is identical to the number of times Luca Garza appeared on these submissions. Kind of crazy there, but I thought it would be fun for you and I to go through and come up with our college basketball Mount Rushmores here. And also, shout out to Rayfeld Davis for fighting the good fight for Zach Edey in response to this entire debate. Any thoughts on the whole internet debate that came out of CBK Reports Mount Rushmores before we get into ours?
I mean, I think that I think there's some clear team leans here. Also, this is a clear case of people. And I don't think it took us long, but like it for some reason, whether it's because it's Purdue, whether it's because Zach Edey is Zach Edey, and for no reason, people just can't get there with the fact that he was probably the most dominant player that I've seen in my lifetime, at the college basketball level.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Okay. All right. Team Rafe on that one. Let's get to our Mount Rushmores. Are we doing this together or are we doing this separately?
I feel like in the spirit and with respect to CBK report, we should do it separate.
You think so?
I think so.
All right. So we'll get your Mount Rushmore and my Mount Rushmore. Would you like to go first or second?
I will go second.
Okay. So here's my thought process, and I'm excited to see how yours differs. There are 3 non-negotiable, have to be on Mount Rushmore names for me here. Since the 21st century, I think there's 3 no-brainers. Number 1, Zach Edey. As you just mentioned, I think he's the best player we've ever seen. I think the individual production backs that up. 2-time National Player of the Year, dragged Purdue to a national championship game in a place they've never been. Done deal. You're there. He had 37 and 10 in the title game against a lottery pick shot blocking center. Undeniable he has to be on the list. Number 2, the other 2-time National Player of the Year on this list is Tyler Hansbrough. And I feel like in drafts and other ones we've done here, sometimes I'm higher on Hansbrough than you are, or higher on Hansbrough than the consensus is. But I want to be pretty clear on this. I think before Zach Edey came through, my answer for the most dominant college basketball player I've seen in my lifetime was Hansbrough. Has nothing to do with his pro career, has nothing to do with what comes after this. But he was on 4 great North Carolina teams. He won 2 National Player of the Years. He won a national championship, and I would argue he was the face of the best team I had seen up until recently, and arguably still. I mean, that performance, they beat Michigan State in Detroit by what felt like 50,
Yeah.
and it was largely because there was no answer for Hansbrough. So
Yeah.
to me, you put the 2 guys who won 2 National Player of the Years, you don't even think about it. That's 1 and 2. There's a third name that's non-negotiable for me. It's Jalen Brunson. 2 national championships here, a National Player of the Year in his 3rd year, his final year in college. I think what Villanova became, the 2 years that they won the title with Brunson, is arguably one of the more impressive feats that have happened here. And the hard part is, if you're going to do a Rushmore, you can't put everyone that won 2 titles. Otherwise, you'd have to pick somebody from UConn. You have to pick somebody from Florida. But to me, Brunson individually was more of a centerpiece of both of those teams and ultimately culminated in a National Player of the Year. That's something that didn't happen at Florida, didn't happen at UConn in theirs. So pretty quickly for me, Brunson, Hansbrough, Edey, no questions asked. Any problems with my 3 non-negotiables before I get to my 4th name?
I need to see the fourth before I comment on the non-negotiables.
Here's my 4th name. I went back and forth on a lot of options here. At first glance, I wanted to put a one and done. And if I was going to put a one and done that sort of defined this era, it would either be Anthony Davis or Carmelo Anthony. One of the 2 one and dones that won a national championship. But then I started thinking about it. Jahlil Okafor was a one and done who won a national championship, and he ain't coming anywhere near Mount Rushmore. There's other guys that were faces of
Was
teams.
was was Jaleel National Player of the Year though?
No,
Yeah.
but that's kind of like I think there's I don't know. The idea of just a freshman one and done. Yes, it's cool. that almost works against you at being in Mount Rushmore. Like we are talking college basketball players. That probably requires guys who stayed in college basketball longer than a year to be on the most accomplished college basketball players ever list. Be like trying to give a president a Mount Rushmore spot when he left after 1 year. Nah, give me 2 terms, dog. We need 8 years, right? That's sort of how I'm viewing this the more I think on this. So then I start thinking, okay, what guys were multi-year guys that mattered, maybe changed the sport. Started thinking, well, Zion was a one and done, but he was loud one. Steph Curry, a multi-year guy that like changed the sport and became something, a face of a sport. But I don't know. For whatever reason, I felt like in the Steph Curry years, he was barely even part of the discussion. So I came back to one name, and I think this is the right fourth name. Guy that won a championship, guy that had a moment, guy that I think was the story of his sport in a way no others have really been his final year. It's Kemba Walker.
Mm.
I think Kemba Walker defined a year of the sport. The Kemba run, the 9 straight wins, the step back where he dropped McGee in the Big East tournament. And honestly, Cart, if we're doing 21st century, UConn has to be represented here somewhere. And it feels right to put, I believe, the most impactful UConn player in this stretch on the list. So there's my Mount Rushmore. Zach Edey, Tyler Hansbrough, Jalen Brunson, Kemba Walker. Your thoughts, and then I want yours.
So Edie, only player on there without a title. I
Yep.
will. So that I mean, back player of the year, so he was dominant. Um, you know what? I didn't see Kemba coming for you. I thought it would be Melo or AD in that run, but to your point, your reasoning behind it makes a lot of sense because that run was special. That run truly was special, and Kemba was incredible. I think he was like 24, 5 and 5, I want to say. Like in that like 40 from the field and like 35 from three maybe. So like and it was the run was just special, bro. It's a college basketball moment for the ages.
Yep.
So I'm not mad at that. Oh man. See, for me, it is hard to do because I guess you got to think like I can't get the thought out of my head that I was like if one of these one and dones play for 4 years, like would they have a more accomplished career than Tyler Hansbrough? I probably think they would. But like at the same time, you can't do that. Guys stayed in college, they do get a little bit more of a bump. Um, so I have Edie on here. I have I have Carmelo on here, and I have Kemba. I like those. I like those picks. On the last one, actually, I'm sorry. I'd like to remove Kemba and add Jalen Brunson. So I have those. I have Edie, I have Melo, and I have Jalen Brunson. It's so hard for me not to do like some players here that just like change my life college basketball wise. Like for my Mount Rushmore, Kevin Durant's on there, but obviously the success wasn't there. But KD was incredible. Michael Beasley also incredible. Um, but I do think you got to have somebody on there that did kind of. I mean, even like if Cooper won a national title, he would be up there for me on this list. To be honest with you, but they came short. Um, for that fourth spot. I'm gonna give it to tough. Someone gets left out here, unfortunately, but I'm gonna give it to AD. I'm gonna go AD at this spot. I just think that his year transcended a lot of things for Kentucky. He was so good defensively. He was national. Was he Wooden or Nat or Naismith? He was one of those awards. I feel like um, number one draft pick, national title as a freshman. Uh, I mean, I got a lot of respect for that. Even though it feels weird having two one and dones on this list on the college basketball Mount Rushmore, but how good those guys were and how hard it is to do that as a freshman gives them a little bit of respect and gets them on my list.
I think if you put one on, you should put both. So I like the way you handled it. The only thing I don't see how you can leave Hansbrough off, given all he accomplished in 4 years. But yeah, I think those are two pretty good answers. I like both of our answers for Mount Rushmore better than any of the ones that included Luca Garza or
That's
Denzel
crazy.
Valentine.
We're Garza guys too, but like he should be nowhere near Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of crazy. All right. That was fun.